What's going on, everyone? It's Mike back again. This is your debrief show. John is he's dying. He's got a chesty cough, but he's chosen to come on here. His little 2-minute rant yesterday was very eloquently put by our John, I would argue.
It's a good job we relied on that video to make money for the channel on
it. To be fair, John, no one can fault you. And actually, I've gone through the comments. One person has a pop at you, and his comment, right? I think his name's something like Belarus or something. And his comment got jumped on by 3 of our loyal watchers who watch every preview, every match reaction, every debrief show. So I just want to say on behalf of John, and I'm sure he'll do the same, but thank you for the support this year. We're going into 2024 from a football club perspective in a bit of a weird place. You know, if you'd have asked me this 2 weeks ago, I'd have been quite happy, but I'm slightly concerned now. And John obviously raised some massive concerns yesterday with a couple of players. So, John, I'm going to let you fire away, if that's all right with you, mate. You get straight into it because you've got some stuff to discuss.
Well, first of all, what I want to get out there is, listen, the 2 players who I've had a pop at and singled out, I've had time to digest a few things and look at the 2 individual players concerned in me rant. I think I am probably being a bit too harsh on Dominic Calvert-Lewin. Now, listen, I'm not sitting here saying he's the best striker in the world. I still think he struggles. I still don't rate him very, very highly. But then when I've looked at things in perspective, he misses the core right massively. And he's so isolated up there on his own. But what I want to see from him is putting a shift in, not just jogging around the 18-yard line, winning headers, looking for the through ball. If we've got any players who can do that killer pass. So I have been a bit harsh on him. So, yeah, probably ease off on him a bit. But the other player concerned in me rant, I still stick to everything I said. I still don't see what he gives us. Spoke to Michael on the phone today, and he's this player who thinks he's better than what he is, in my opinion. He makes himself available for the ball from a 5-yard pass from an Everton player, and then he gives it back to the Everton player 5 yards away, or he'll look at an Everton player 10 yards away. He should be picking that ball up and driving forward, especially when we haven't got Decore there. He should be carrying the ball forward, hopefully to supply Dominic Calvert-Lewin with them through balls. I mean, you pointed out something to me this morning that he did do that once yesterday, and it did get to Calvert-Lewin, but he was offside. We need to see more of that. I don't see what Anana gives us. I don't see what he does. And I don't think we'd miss him if he wasn't there.
So, while you were talking and I was looking that way, I was looking at the stats of Amadou Onana. Amadou Onana, according to essentially Opta, is arguably our highest performing midfielder this season in the role that he does. My issue with that, and you're right to agree with this, I think we're going to agree with this, is, as you've just said, it's not difficult. Because from a defensive standpoint, he's only got Ladrissa Gana-Gay to compete with from a defensive perspective in terms of like a holding midfielder role. Because Decore's done a bit more going forward and James Garner's more box-to-box. So I would expect Amadou Onana to outperform Gana-Gay in that situation, in any situation. The concern for me is you've washed your hands of him, essentially. You know, from what conversation we've had, you've gone, right, I've had enough of him. I'm done. Yeah. And I still think there's a player in there. And this is where our divide is. And that's fine. Like, this football's a football. My worry is, and I mentioned this to you in the car, we have this tendency as a fan base to sort of destroy our youngsters at their moments of madness, if you get what I mean. You know, we've done this before. We did it with Tom Davies. You know, he never really hit the heights that he could have hit. Ross Barkley, I would argue, was at that peak, then got some criticism for playing in a style of football that he wasn't suited to under Martinez, and then ends up leaving and going to Chelsea. I just worry that we almost nail these kids too early. He's 22 years old. Do you get what I mean? And that's where our difference of opinions is. And let us know in the comments what you think. You know, are you washed with Onana? Are you done? Are you finished with him? Or are you, giving him the benefit of the doubt and giving him the fact he's 22 years old? I'm not against selling Onana. I'm not against Onana because I don't think he fits in what our plan is. I don't think he fits in the style of Everton at the minute. But I also don't go to the extreme that you've gone, John, in the terms of he's shit. I don't understand the value. But a lot of people agreed with you in the comments. A lot of people agreed with you.
A lot of people were on your side of the fence, I'd say, up until 2-3 months ago, where they were saying there's a player in there and I'm wrong to jump on these young players back. There's a lot more people seeing what I'm seeing now. Listen, I'm not saying my opinion's right. It's just my opinion. But people are starting to notice what I've been saying. Now, at 22 years of age, yeah, he is still young in Premier League terms, but he should be offering more because he actually thinks he's better than what he is, in my opinion. He should be grabbing games by the scruff of the neck. I don't expect it to happen as much against the top teams, but he hasn't done it against the lesser teams either. And just see someone who runs around. He's got the perfect opportunity a couple of times there yesterday. I watched the game back today where the Wolves midfield had the ball. And all he's got to do is do a turn of pace and close that player down. He labours. It's as if he doesn't, I'm going to say doesn't want to get involved, but he could try harder to get involved. And that's what frustrates me. I want to see more. I'll ask you a question. Do you know if Onana, listen, we don't want any player injured. It doesn't matter who it is. But do you know if Onana got an injury and was a month out, do you think we'd miss him?
So this is difficult because 3 weeks ago, I think 4 weeks ago, both me and you were on the video saying we did miss him.
But it's not consistent, is it?
But you're right, John. It isn't consistent. So to answer your question, I don't know the answer, mate. Because if it's Onana right now, then no, we don't miss him. We don't miss him. If it was Onana 4 weeks ago who seemed to be trying to get on the ball and make things happen and, that little bit of moments of brilliance, which he does have, we saw it not as stupidly. At the minute, it feels like he does a flick to do a flick's sake rather than doing a flick to beat a man and get somebody into space.
I don't think he's got, I said this to you today, I don't think he's got a very good footballer brain.
Yeah, and that
probably comes down to the flicks, what you're talking about there.
I can't argue with, but my problem is I'm worried about writing him off too early. But there's no doubt, John, I thought in the first half, I thought he was better than he has been. I thought he was better than he was against Man City. I've just checked the stats. I know we don't really go by stats, but statistically, he had a better game against Wolves. But in the second half, he went missing. I didn't see him in the second half. He's passing. It was almost like he'd gone from being a player that I thought, yes, if there's one person that's going to step up in the second half, we're 1-0 down, one person that's going to prove us all that he is, he's going to get his scruff of the neck, as you call it, get his hand, scruff of the neck, pull the game to Everton. I thought, yes, it might be Onana. The second half, he was dreadful.
Yeah, he was worse than what he was the first half, in my opinion. I want to see more, and this is what I was going to say to you. In my opinion, the only reason why he completed 90 minutes yesterday, and he's been completing 90 minutes in most games, they've got no one to come in for him. And I'm telling you now, if we had someone at least half decent on that bench who could do a similar job to whatever he does, because I don't see what he does, Onana would probably be taken out the team if Sean Dyche was watching what us Everton fans are watching at the minute. But as you quite rightly said today when we were on the phone, who comes in for him? It's a tough one, and we knew this would happen. Few injuries, Garner guys out. You said to me today, Garner guy could easily come back in once he's fit and replace Anana. He could come into that team and do a better job than what Anana is. And we all know Garner guy's not the player he was before he left us. He's older now. But I'm telling you now, he gives us more legs in that midfield. He'll pick the ball up and he'll look for a forward pass. He'll take a man on. Nana doesn't take a man on. When was the last time you've seen Nana pick the ball up, run at the opposition, go past the player, create a chance for somebody else, or have a pop himself?
Yeah, and do you know what? You are right, because when we signed Anana and he made his debut, if you remember, he made a mistake in his debut against Aston Villa, and we lost. We lost 2-1, but it was a game that we were well in, and he gave the ball away. They went 2-0 up, and we went up the other end, and Anana beat about 4 players, delivered a little ball into the box, and we scored and made it 2-1. And when Anana did that, I sat there and thought, yes, we've got a hell of a player here. I haven't seen enough of that. I haven't seen enough, and I don't know whether that is Dyche, whether it was a tactical decision over the last 4 games. But I've got to be honest, he is disappointing me, Anana, and I will stick up for any young player. He's 22 years old. Me and you were talking about it the other day, about the future is almost could be deemed bright, because Mikalenko's young, Anana's young, James Garner's young, Branthwaite's young. All of these young players, Dobbins young, all of these young players in and around the first team getting these minutes. But actually, at times, it's them not being able to be as consistent week in, week out that I would argue is costing us games. Because another player that I thought had probably his worst game in a blue shirt, in my opinion, was James Garner. I didn't think James was very good either, which is a massive surprise because he's been brilliant.
Normally when we put a bad performance in, listen, this is 3 defeats over Christmas, the festive period now. Before that, we'd won 4 and not conceded a goal. You can normally pick a decent player out and you go, well, sometimes we struggle to give a man of the match. But we found one. Can't find one from yesterday. And going back to Anana, and listen, we need to move on from Anana because obviously it sounds like, well, I am nailing it, but I think everyone knows my thoughts on it. I've got my points across. I think with the likes of Anana, I think he actually thinks he's better than what he is, which I will reiterate I said before. But I think it's also, he's the sort of player, he's that egotistical, he'll look around him, if no one else is pulling up trees, he'll go, well, why should I fucking bother? And I think that is his mindset. And, as you said yesterday, you're looking for a player to come out in that second half, grab the game by the scruff of the neck and take it to Wolves and, have a go. He's the sort of player who will look round and will go, well, Garner's being shit today. It's Lisa Garner, guys, not here. McNeil's hot and cold. Jack Harrison's having a nightmare. Calvert-Lewin's not trying. What the fuck should I bother? And I think that's his mindset. And if he wants to be this player that he thinks he is, and a lot of Evertonians, including you, it's not a pot, think there's a player in there, then he can't go round sulking like that. He's got to grab them games by the scruff of the neck. He can't go, well, I can't be asked because none of them are trying. That's not a Premiership football mentality to have that.
No, and Wolves were... Look, I give Wolves a lot of credit this season. I've given Gary O'Neill a lot of credit. They play good football, and they've got players that are what I call dynamic. They all move, they all interchange, they know
what they're doing.
They're neat footballers, they're quick. It's almost like a stylish brand of football that they play, in that illusion. But they made us look, especially in the middle of the park yesterday, because the middle of the park yesterday, not only did we get beat, we got absolutely battered, both going forward and defensively. Yeah. They were bypassing us. They were winning the ball back in midfield, and we didn't have an answer for them. We couldn't compete with their pace. I thought it was an absolutely shocking performance. And I almost understand why Dyche went with 5, because he's gone, right, we lost to Spurs, we lost to Man City, let's get a minimum of a point here at Molineux. mate, he played perfectly into their hands because they could just
Yeah.
play through us. They've just picked through us. Dyche, in my opinion, yesterday, and look, I'm not saying Dyche out. I've gone past that. I'm more than happy with Dyche. He's got his hands tied behind his back, but he got it wrong yesterday. No doubt about it. He got it wrong yesterday.
Well, he got it wrong by picking 5 at the back, or whether you call it 3 and the wing backs pushing up, whatever you want to say. But he found a place for Michael Keane. As soon as you see that, your arse goes, doesn't it? And then, it comes to half time, and every Everton fan in that stadium, every Everton fan watching it in whatever means he watched it, we knew he had to make a change. No, didn't make a change. He's so stubborn, it pisses me off. But again, I'm not like you, Dyche out, because listen, we know he's getting the best out of an average group of players, in my opinion, but not the best. 4 wins on the run, 4 clean sheets. So we know his ideas work. But there's no in between with him. He'll either get it right like he did there, or he'll absolutely make a shit show of it like he did yesterday. And there's no in between with him. Yesterday, for me, as team selection to start the game, the substitutions were absolutely miles off. And I'm going to go on to what you said there about Wolves and how good they were. Wolves were fantastic from the first whistle to the 99th minute or whatever it was, right?
Yeah.
But this isn't taking nothing away from Wolves. Everton made them look like that. And I'm not saying if Everton would have even played 40% better, Wolves wouldn't have won the game. Because Wolves were that far superior than us yesterday. But we didn't help ourselves, letting them overrun the midfield, whether it was when we were on the attack, they were winning the ball back, or when they were on the attack against us, they were just bypassing us and running through us. We made them look like that. But again, that's no disrespect to Wolves. We took advantage of it, and we got their game plan spot on yesterday. And he's absolutely smashing it there. So credit to him, because he's really, really doing a good job.
Yeah, I think there was another player you mentioned yesterday, Calvert-Lewin, but I've got bigger concerns than Calvert-Lewin, and it's to do with the whole forward line. I have concerns about every single player. Again, about consistently. I'm not sold on Beto. I'm not going to sit here and say that I am, because I'm not. I'm not sold on it at all. Within 3 minutes of coming on yesterday, throwing from Everton, poor touch. He's got 3 Wolves players around him. Beto ends up sitting on the floor with his legs completely spread, like I'm not even going to say it, but he was done. He was absolutely done, sitting there on the floor, and he's tenacious and he's aggressive, but he's like a spinning top, mate. He's like the Tasmanian devil. He just doesn't have any coordination. I would argue he's got no football skill. I mean, this is a guy that scored 10 goals in La Liga, and I'm sitting there thinking, not in La Liga, in Italy, and I'm in Serie A, and I'm sitting there thinking, I can't see it. I can't see where Beto scores more than 5 goals, because he looked, the Premier League is, at this moment in time, whether it changes in time, he's only 19 games in, but it's a million miles away from where Beto is. It is a million miles away. And I have major concerns over a £30 million deal. And I know we've paid no money for it yet, but we're going to be on for that next season. And if I'm being honest, mate, I think we need a striker. I think we actually do need a striker who has got Premier League experience and we know can put the ball in the net, because Calvert-Lewin can't. He's got 3 goals this season in, I think, 15 appearances. Although it was offside, he missed another one-on-one yesterday. So I don't have confidence in Calvert-Lewin. He doesn't, if I'm being honest, have confidence in himself. So, I mean, if I've got no confidence and the fans have got no confidence and he's got no confidence, I don't know how he picks himself up, but I hope he does, because I've never had an issue with Calvert-Lewin's attitude. I've never had an issue with his desire or his determination. I'd argue he tries really hard. I'd argue that he tries to get the ball into his feet and he tries to win flick-ons. But in games recently, he's looked isolated, and the chances that he has got, he hasn't took at all. So when you couple that with a midfield that is missing Decore, because he seems to be our biggest goal threat at the minute. I don't know how we score. I don't know how we score, and that worries me because
I,
I don't trust any of them. I don't trust any of the forwards.
I actually think this is why he isn't taking Dominic Calvert-Lewin off the firing line, because he knows what he's got to come in. And as you say, it's Beto. He looks like, it's a massive step for him. It's the two biggest step up for him. He obviously doesn't fancy Chimity because he's not even giving him a go. He's not bringing Dobbin on half of what me and you think he should be. He could be getting a chance. In my opinion, Dan Juma through the middle will probably do better than any of our strikers doing at the minute.
He's got more about him. Dan Juma actually has more about him. He's got more pace. He'll take people on. He's got a good touch, and he's physically strong. I don't understand why Dan Juma has been put into this situation where we bought in a lone player and he hasn't played, especially over McNeil, where, look, I'll give McNeil all the credit in the world. He's gone through a lot this year, clearly. I saw the Instagram post, so love to him and his family, absolutely. But he looks tired. He needs a fucking rest. Give him a rest.
Yeah.
Give him a rest. Give him a game out or 2 games out. There's no harm in giving Dan Juma 70 minutes and then bringing on McNeil. Absolutely none at all.
Well, I think before Dan Juma come to Everton, I think he scored 11 goals playing through the middle. When he was on loan at Bournemouth, I'm pretty sure he played through the middle and scored goals there. So is this because Dyche has his favourites, i.e. Calvert-Lewin, sticking with Dwight McNeil, that he won't give these players a chance? Because obviously he's going to go with the tried, trusted and tested. Obviously he's had McNeil at Burnley, and it's been pretty obvious the last 2 or 3 games that he's absolutely dead on his feet, but he's still starting him. He's bringing Michael Keane in again, and we said this the other week when we had an injury and he brought him in. Is this Dyche's way of trying to integrate Michael Keane back into the team? And it's pretty obvious that it is, because you went with the 5 at the back yesterday and Michael Keane was in again. So while you've got your favourites, the other players haven't got a chance, mate. Honest to God, this game, I know it's not a game for video for Thursday. I'd have no problem with him starting Dobbin. I'd have no problem with him starting Dan Juma through the middle or starting Dan Juma on the wing. No problem whatsoever.
I'll throw the game. I literally throw the game. I'll give you my team the other day. Virginia, I'll go Mikalenko at left back. I'll go Ben Godfrey and Michael Keane as the 2 centre halves. I'll go Seamus Coleman at right back. I'll go anyone in the middle. Garner, your nan, your mum, whoever they want, just throw them in. On the left, I'll go with Dan Juma. On the right, I'll go with Dobbin. And I'll start Chimity and, I don't know, Beto up front. I'll go 4-4-2. Because these players, and I get it, because there's no depth in this team, really. I mean, that team I've just called theirs, but arguably a championship team.
Yeah.
They look finished, mate. They look absolutely cooked. And it's not like they've got an easy home game the week after. They're playing Villa.
I know. And I think this is the problem we've got, where the squad is so threadbare. We knew as soon as we got a few injuries, we've had a lot of games over the festive period. And I think Dyche has come out yesterday and practically blamed the amount of football we've been playing and how thin the squad is. And, he had a feeling yesterday might be a game too far and the players would be tired. Listen, obviously they're entitled to be tired with the amount of football they play, but at least put a performance in. And it's down to the manager, if he thinks these players are tired, to freshen the squad up as best as what he can, i.e. starting Dan Juma, starting a Dobbin, giving players like that a go. Freshen it up. If you think they're tired, don't go into a game thinking that and knowing that. Freshen it up before the game starts. He did it. And this is the problem. There was a lot of blame on Dyche yesterday. A lot of blame on Dyche. I've blamed players. I've called players out. It was just a shit show from the first whistle to the last whistle yesterday. And one thing I do want to say, and listen, this is no way a pop at the fans, because I'd never do that to Everton fans. So quiet for an away day yesterday. So quiet. And I think that was down to, from the first whistle, we could see we were going to struggle. Obviously, Wolves go ahead quite early. Then it come to half time and Dyche didn't make a substitution and we all felt deflated because every Everton fan in there thought he should have made changes. That was one of the quietest away days I've been through this season, and I've been to a few. And I think the fans felt it yesterday as well, that they were just overrun.
Yeah.
And that's not a pop at Everton fans, because listen, anyone who's seen me at the match knows I'm always there, 100 mile an hour. I was quiet yesterday.
Yeah, John, I'm not really surprised, because if we're being honest, we got played off the park start to finish all game.
Yeah.
And it was embarrassing, but not embarrassing because Wolves had a good team. You know, I think Wang is a very good forward for them. I think they've got Sarabia. Al Nouri was really good on the right hand side as a fullback. They just look better than us in every department, and there's kind of no point sitting there and hiding it or denying it. They were better than us in every department. It was almost like the start of the season where we lost to them and we battered them in terms of chances and things. It was almost like chalk and cheese from that performance.
Yeah.
It was almost like Wolves got away with one. And yesterday, if I'm being honest, it at least could have been 4, couldn't it? If not 5. I mean, Wang was through on goal after 3 minutes or 4 minutes and pulled it back instead of shooting.
Yeah.
It rounded
Yeah.
Pickford. I mean, he should have scored.
Yeah.
It was easier to score than miss. So it could have been bad yesterday. It could have been really, really bad. John, I want to talk about the Premier League table because, you know, a couple of weeks ago, including me, even in the match preview, I said that Everton could probably cope with losing another 6 points. We're 17th. Luton are 1 point behind us with a game in hand, and Brentford are now 3 points clear of us.
I'm worried.
Are you worried in terms of, look, we're going down, or are you worried in the sense of we just need to sort this out earlier rather than later so it doesn't drag on? Like, do you genuinely think we could go down this season?
The thing is, I'm not going to talk about getting any points back, because we'll see what happens. Forget that. What worries me is Luton have been picking points up. All right, they got beat yesterday. Just. You've got Forest, who are putting some results together. You know, where when you look above us, we seem to be getting left behind now. And there's only 1 or 2 teams, I think, that we could catch with 1 or 2 wins. It might only be 1 team. I'm not too sure.
It's 1. It's Brentford.
That's what I mean. So you've got the 2 bottom. Listen, no disrespect. I think Burnley and Sheffield United have gone. That third bottom place is very much wide open. So the answer to your question, if we carry on putting performances in like we did yesterday and don't bring a couple of faces in, and listen, they're probably only going to be loan deals in January to freshen it up, I am worried, yeah.
Okay, so let's talk about the next 5 fixtures and just quickly. Villa at home.
Again, we've got to put a performance in like we did second half of Tottenham, first half of City, to even be with any chance of anything from that game.
Give me a number of points. How many do we get out of that game?
The way I'm feeling at the minute, none.
Okay, fine. So 0. Fulham away.
Well, it just beat Arsenal. 1.
Okay. Spurs at home.
1.
Man City away.
None.
Palace at home.
You'd like to think 3.
Yeah. So at the next 5 games, we're going to get 5 points on what you've said. And if I'm being honest, I probably agree with you. To be honest, I'm probably more verging on 3 points, and we might even lose the next 4. But let's just push that over. Luton's fixtures, they actually have opportunities to win games of football. Like, seriously, like, they've got Burnley away next week. They've got Brighton at home, who at times this season have looked a little bit hit and miss. They've got Newcastle away. Yeah, I don't expect them to win. But then they've got Sheffield United at home and Manchester United at home. And it would not surprise me if Luton
I've just
picked
added up
10
there
points like that.
9 points.
So at that point, Luton are then ahead of us.
Yeah. Yeah.
So my point is, we've lost 3 games against 3 decent teams, obviously. Tottenham, Man City, and Wolves. But this all stemmed, in my opinion, from the Fulham game, when it was a terrible performance. We managed to just about get it to extra time, and we lose in the shootout.
Yeah.
I am worried. But I do think we've got more than enough on paper to stay up.
We've got to score goals.
We've got to score goals. Yeah, we've got to score goals because it's gone from being that we're solid at the back, because at the minute we're not solid at the back. We're conceding silly goals. I mean, there was a moment yesterday. Michael Keane and Tarkowski kicked the ball against each other, and Wolves are in it. I think they put it wide, or they're offside. I can't remember what happened, but there was a few moments yesterday where the defence looked shaky.
So what you're saying is it's reverted from being watertight and getting results and winning 4 games on the run to
1-0 or 2-0, yeah.
But we're not scoring and we concede. So it's flipped itself.
Yeah.
And this is what I said to you after that Fulham game. I just hope that it doesn't have a mentality effect on the players. I think it's pretty obvious it has. Because, all right, we put 1 good half in against Tottenham, 1 good half in against City. Yesterday was awful, but it's not consistent performances now as it might have, whereas we were getting them. You know, we were doing the match previews, confident, and we were giving our score predictions, and both of us were saying we were winning because we looked watertight and we were getting goals from other parts of the pitch. Dominic Calvert-Lewin scored 1 goal since October.
Yeah, we really need Doucouré back.
I think you've probably seen the best of, this is what I said at the beginning of the video, the best out of Calvert-Lewin when Doucouré's back, because Doucouré plays that bit further forward and he will try and link up with him when he can be asked to win ahead of Calvert-Lewin. So you have got that link up. When you look at the team without him, and this is why I said before, I probably have been a bit harsh on him because he looks isolated, but which player out of that team is playing with Calvert-Lewin week in, week out when Doucouré's not there? Who's capable of pushing further up and linking up with him or trying to link up with him?
No one. And the biggest thing for me, look, I'll sit here and say it now, and I've said it loads of times. I don't think Doucouré has a football IQ. I really don't. I don't think he 100% is connected feet to brain. But what he gives you is work rate, is energy, is graft. And he doesn't have the best games in the world sometimes, and sometimes he looks terrible sometimes, but other times he looks brilliant because he's carrying the ball out for us, he's getting us out of trouble, he's thinking of a quick way of sort of, a little step over or something. He's got this little moment of brilliance away, and then he pops up and scores some goals, and to say we miss him is an understatement.
Well, I was just going to say, he's a player you miss. How many other players who can we sit here and say we'd miss as much as what we miss him? Or we rely on a player as much as we rely on Doucouré?
I think there is a couple of players. I genuinely think there's a couple of players that we would miss.
Oh, yes, I like the Branthwaite, but what I mean is further up the pitch, who?
No one.
We can't sit here and go, if Jack Harrison was out for a month, would we miss him? No, because he's not pulling up any trees. McNeil's dead on his feet. Yeah, we probably might miss him a bit because he's probably I'd rather have McNeil in the team than Harrison. Now, that says something. But when you look at the centre, okay, we've missed James Garner. Thought he was awful yesterday. No way, shape or form I'm going to have a pop with him because for me, he's been our best player this season, apart from possibly Branthwaite. I'm not going to sit here. Yeah, I'm not going to sit here and slag Garner off. They were all shit yesterday. But when you look at them players that were capable of popping up with goals, the likes of Harrison, McNeil, Calvert-Lewin, and Norne, sometimes even though he hasn't scored, we scored ahead of the other week. we wouldn't miss them players as much as what we'd missed the Corey.
The other thing I noticed yesterday, I tried to take a print screen of it, but I just missed it. The ball would sort of go into midfield, and we'd have, say, a Nana, or we'd have, James Garner, or whoever, just sort of sitting there in the middle, and the pockets of space in between the strikers, the wingers, and the midfielders, and there wouldn't be an Everton player busting up. Whereas I watched Wolves on the other side, and you'd see Wang go short, or Sarabia go into the middle, or you'd see they had the other lad. Who was the other lad who was brilliant yesterday?
Semedo.
Semedo on the right-hand side. He was popping up from right back into little pockets of space in midfield. He caused us all sorts of problems. So, I honestly, I mean, it was a bad game. But even just, I said to you, it's almost like they've forgotten how to play football, as in the very basic pass and move. It's such a basic concept.
Pass, move, make yourself available for the ball again. Look round you before you actually receive the ball to see where you can move to, where you've got it. All of them done it. And you look at Wolves yesterday, even when you look at the substitutes they made, Michael, he made substitutes that had an impact on the game.
Yeah.
We haven't got no one who can come on and make an impact on a game. Maybe Dobbin I'd give the opposition's defence something to worry about. You've got no one feeding the likes of Lewis Dobbin and putting through balls for them to run onto, because we know that is bread and butter.
Yeah.
What's the point? What is the point? But shit show at the office yesterday. We go again Thursday. Be interesting to see the team selection. Not too fussed about the FA Cup, because at the minute, looking at the league table now, looking at the fixtures coming up, looking at Luton's fixtures coming up, we've got bigger fish to fry than the FA Cup. Because let's be honest about it, and they probably call me negative for this, we're not going to win it anyway, so fuck it. Put a weak team up.
Mate, don't worry about it. I'll get called negative even when I'm positive, so don't worry about it. Guys, that's your debrief. We really haven't spent much time talking about Wolves, but they look really good yesterday. So any Wolves fan that watches that, well done, and good luck for the rest of the season. I was watching the game on telly, and there was a couple of moments where like Everton would sing the Premier League's corrupt, and they joined in. I noticed.
Not all of them.
Yeah, just a few of them.
Still got the little pockets calling us cheats and stuff, and basically we get what we deserve. And listen, again, we spoke about this on the match preview. There's a couple of teams that were going to carry on getting done over by the likes of the Premier League and VAR. Unfortunately, Wolves will be one of them. Palace will be one of them. So just be careful, because you reap what you sow when you're singing that to Everton fans. Because City's done it another night, and they're in for a massive shock in the next 12 to 18 months.
Because John is joining the PGML, and he's going to finish you all.
Yeah. A couple of people who approached me yesterday while I was down on the concourse and did put your names on my phone. I can't look now. So, thanks very much for coming over and having a chat about the team and asking where Michael was and talking about the channel and your kind comments. So, it is appreciated. So, cheers for that. Even though you didn't buy me a baby.
Yeah, so, it's Paul, and I hope I've said this right, Bartik from Poland, who come over to you yesterday. And that's lovely. One of the things that we want to aim for in 2024 is probably doing more stuff for you guys, more maybe exclusive content, more fan stuff. Just try and freshen it all up a little bit. But as to what that looks like, we don't know. We try to do some watch-alongs here and there, but maybe the games that John doesn't go away. Maybe we try and do some more. But we'll see. But guys, look, I wish you a happy new year. Fantastic. Make sure you give your loved ones a big kiss and a hug tonight, as you see in 2023 and leading into 2024. If there's people that that are struggling, send them a message and just wish them a happy new year and a brighter future, maybe. And John, I think it's really important to say it's been great to have you back on the channel properly. We did miss you, and I don't tell you this much, but I do miss you. And the guys obviously miss you as well. They love you. You're relatable. You're funny. So, yeah, I hope you have a fantastic 2023 party or whatever you're doing later, and make sure you give give the kids a hug from me, and you give Lisa one for me. Cheers.
Brilliant. Everything he said. Again, it's great to be back. Pretty much full time now, and you know, a lot of people have welcomed me back, and I think I'm more relatable because I'm not a wolf. So, you know, I do make the channel. I mean, I would have my own, only I can't upload videos. So I'd probably be the biggest out there. So Michael does need to teach me that, or I might ask Frankie and James, and then I'm going to ask you all, come over to my channel. God, the lights have gone out. Yeah, but anyway, in all seriousness, now it's boss to be back. I love doing these videos with Michael. We do have banter. We do bounce off each other. I bounce more off him than he does me because he's bigger. But yeah, it's great to be back. The comments have been really good. So yeah, thanks very much.
See you later, guys. Happy New Year.
Cheers,
Peace.
everyone. Oh, where she is. Hello.